the next level of systems of equations. So remember, a system of equations just means that we have two different equations, or we have 1, 2. And if you want to find the solution, it's the x, y point where they intersect, where they hit each other on the graph. Okay, so we're looking for an x and a y value for our final answer. Now, on day 1, you guys learned how to solve a system with substitution, but this one looks a little bit different. And this system, only one equation has y alone, where this one does not have any variables alone. But remember, in order to do substitution, all you need is one equation where you have an isolated variable, where you already have a variable that's totally alone. So up here, I only have one option. Y is totally alone, so I'm gonna circle it, and I'm gonna box what it's equal to, just like day 1. So I circled the y, I boxed it. I'm gonna go find the y in the other equation and swap out with whatever I boxed. So down here, I'm gonna put 4x plus 3. Instead of the y, I'm gonna make a huge parentheses, then put equals -8. That's the good setup. You gotta use your parentheses for good organization. So all I did is I took my second equation and I took y and made it a big parentheses. Because now I can take what y is equal to, the box, and put it where y used to be. And now this looks like an equation that you've been solving if you've already done part 1 and part 2. I see distribution because there's a number next to the parentheses, so I'm gonna multiply. I have not touched the 4x at all. 3 times x is positive 3x. 3 times -5 is -15. When you multiply, when one number is negative, your answer is negative, and that's still equal to -8. Now I'm gonna see if I can combine my like terms one side at a time, so I'm gonna ignore that -8 for now. I see here 4x and 3x. Remember guys, like terms must have the same variable. Since -15 does not have an x, it can't be combined. 4x plus 3x is 7x. We haven't touched the -15. We haven't touched the -8 yet. Now this looks like a part 1 equation. I'm gonna save the closer number till the end, so I'll do my inverse operation here. I'll add the 15 to both sides. Haven't touched the 7x yet. -8 plus 15 is 7. 7x is multiplication, so the inverse operation is division. And x is equal to +1. But remember, we are not done until we have an x, which we just got, and a y. In order to get your y value, we are gonna take our answer that we just got, we're gonna take x equals 1, and we're gonna choose one of these equations, it does not matter which, and plug it in. I'm gonna use this top one, because it's a little bit easier. So I'm gonna write down y equals x minus 5. And now I'm gonna go take my answer of x equals 1, and I'm gonna go substitute it in where I see x up there. 1 minus 5 is -4. And so your final answer, guys, should be x, comma, y. X, comma, y. Let's try one more example. So I want to solve the system, and in order to use our substitution strategy, one equation needs an isolated, an alone variable. So up here, I see this y is already alone, so I'm going to circle it, and I'm going to box what it's equal to. Because now that this y is alone, I can take what I boxed and swap it out with the y in the other equation. So I'm going to take this top equation and set it up. 7x plus 6. I'm going to make a big parentheses for y, and this is still equal to -1. Now instead of y, I'm going to put what y is equal to, -4x minus 20. And now I can solve this equation. I see I have distribution because there's a number next to the parentheses, and when we do this distribution, we're multiplying. So I'm not touching the 7x. 6 times -4x is -24x. When you're multiplying, if one number is negative, your answer is negative. 6 times -20 will be -120. A positive times a negative is a negative, equals -1. After you clean up your distribution, we need to combine like terms that are on the same side of the equal mark. So I'm going to ignore that -1 and look at my like terms. I see 7x and negative 24x. They're like terms because they both have the same variable. That negative 120 does not, so it cannot be combined. 7 minus 24 is going to be negative 17x. We haven't touched the negative 120. We haven't touched that negative 1 either. And don't forget, guys, those negatives got to come down. Now we have 2 steps to solve. We'll save the number attached to x for the end. We'll get rid of the other number first. So negative 17x will equal 119. Negative 17x is multiplication because I don't see anything in between. So the opposite is division. And x will equal negative 7. Now remember, we are not done unless we have an x and a y value. We have our x, we need the y. You can choose either equation up here. I'm going to choose the simpler one, y equals negative 4x minus 20. Now I'm going to take my answer, x equals negative 7, and plug it in for the x up here. So y equals negative 4 parentheses. And now I have a nice spot for that negative 7. When your signs match when you're multiplying, we get a positive answer. Negative 4 times negative 7 is a positive 28. 28 minus 20 is 8. Your final answer should be x comma y. So x is negative 7, y was 8. So our final answer is negative 7, 8.